Mrs. Albanese has moved second reading of Bill 145, an act to proclaim the month of November as Albanian Heritage Month. Pursuant to Standing Order 98, the member has 12 minutes for her presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a privilege to rise and address this House and lead the debate on Bill 145. I would like, first of all, to welcome the numerous members from the Albanian community who have joined us here in the Legislative Chamber. Among them is a formidable honorary president of the Albanian Canadian Community Association and chairman of the ACA Albanian Heritage Group, Dr. Ruki Kondai. And Ruki and I have worked together to propose this bill, which would recognize November as Albanian Heritage Month in the province of Ontario. I would also like to acknowledge the Chargé d'Affaires of the Republic of Kosovo in Canada, Mr. Lonzim Hizeni. Welcome. And members of the media such as Albania Reflections and the lovely dancing group Little Eagles, and the representatives of the various associations that are here with us today. Welcome to all of you. Berodita. Mr. Speaker, this bill provides our province with an opportunity to recognize and celebrate Albanian Canadian community living here in Ontario. I think it would be fitting if November would be proclaimed Albanian Heritage Month in our province, as during this month, this community celebrates two important dates. Albania National Independence Day, or Flag Day, which falls on November 28th, and marks the date when, in 1912, Albania proclaimed its independence from the Ottoman Empire, and November 29th, which is recognized as Albanian Liberation Day. The Albanian Canadian community celebrates these dates in Ontario by raising the Albanian flag here at Queen's Park, as well as by organizing cultural performances and banquet dinners throughout our province and the rest of Canada. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say something about the history of this resilient community which now lives in our great province. As many would know, Albania is a small country nestled in the Balkan Peninsula in southeastern Europe, with coastlines on the Adriatic and Ionian Sea, just above Greece and east of Italy. Albania today is a beautiful tourist destination that offers enchanting landscapes and sights. In 2015, it was listed as one of the top 10 most visited destinations in the world, but it was not always so. The country has had a long and troubled history. First, we need to clarify that Albanians in Canada came from different European countries: Albania itself, Kosovo, Macedonia, Greece, Serbia, and Turkey. This is explained by the geopolitics of the beginning of the 20th century, mainly characterized by Albanian territories being annexed by neighboring Balkan countries. Second, it is very important to understand the national identity of Albanians. Again, we have to look back in history. Albanians are a very ancient people, descendant of the ancient Irilians. During most of their history, they have been conquered and ruled by three big empires: Romans, Byzantines, and Ottomans. These long occupations have brought significant anthropological and social changes. Most important, the introduction of three major religions: Catholicism, Orthodoxy, and Islam. However, their national identity has remained strong through the centuries. Their patriotism is rooted in two pillars: their common land and their language. Albanians began coming to Canada after the First World War. The first wave of immigration consisted of immigrants leaving the country mainly in search of better economic opportunities. The second wave of immigration occurred after the Second World War. These were mainly refugees escaping the communist rule in Albania and Yugoslavia, and from the Republic of Macedonia. The third and largest wave saw about 20,000 people, predominantly skilled workers, leave the country after 1990, together with at least 5,000 Kosovo Albanians who were accepted as refugees in 1999 by the Canadian government. Today, according to ACA, there are about 40,000 Albanians that call Ontario home. Another 20,000 live in other Canadian provinces. The majority of Albanian Canadians living in our province have chosen to live in the Greater Toronto area, in other cities such as Hamilton, London, Kitchener, Ottawa, Peterborough, and Windsor. They have a vibrant community life. Nowadays, Albanians in Ontario count on several community associations And within our school system, there are 7 different elementary schools that offer language classes where the children learn the Albanian language, study history and traditions. One unifying force within the community is the Albanian Canadian Community Association, or ACA, which was established on August 11, 1989. This was an important milestone for the whole Albanian community in Canada, accomplished through the hard and commendable work of the founding committee that succeeded to establish and make it legally viable on November 4th, 1990. The Albanian Community Association of Toronto is one of the nerve centers of the community's social activities. The association is developing a greater awareness and pride amongst its members and within the entire Canadian community as to who Albanian Canadians are, where they came from, and their aspirations. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take a minute or two to share my personal connection with the Albanian community. As you may be aware, Mr. Speaker, I was born and raised in Italy before coming to Canada. I was born in a seaside town called Taranto in the region of Puglia. Puglia in southeastern Italy encompasses the heel of Italy's boot, right across from Albania. My last name is Albanese, which literally means from Albania. Although I have never explored the personal history of my family name, there is an ethnic and linguistic Albanian minority community that has long lived in southern Italy. They are the Arbaresh, or Italo-Albanians. They settled in southern Italy between the 15th and the 18th century in several waves of migration following the death of the Albanian national hero, Georgi Kastrioti Skanderbeg. Their culture is determined by the main features that are found in language, religion, traditions, customs, art, and gastronomy, still jealously preserved. Today, there are about 50 Arbaresh communities and villages scattered throughout southern Italy. During my previous career in multicultural broadcasting, I had the opportunity to meet, interview, and get to know representatives of the Arbaresh community living in Toronto. It is a community I have long been familiar with. And during my election campaigns, I have been frequently stopped and have been asked many times by members of the Albanian community here in Canada if my roots are Albanian. They may be, Mr. Speaker. One day I will endeavor to find out. Mr. Speaker, in my capacity as MPP for York South-Weston, I came to know and grew very fond of Dr. Rupi Rondai. We spoke about how the presence and the contributions of Albanian Canadians could be better recognized here in the province of Ontario. Hence, we started working closely together on making this bill become a reality. Albanian Canadians have contributed greatly over the last century to the social fabric of our country. Their capacity to integrate well in Canadian society reflects their strong family and cultural values. They have a strong work ethic, recognizable in the numerous success stories in the community, the great many individuals who have distinguished themselves, whether in business, science, the arts, and the great number of Albanian Canadian youth who attend our universities and colleges. Albanians have remained proud of their rich cultural heritage. Albanian Canadians have held on to their traditional costumes, songs, and dances, musical instruments, stories, legends, oral histories, and literature, also dear to them. They have held on to the Code of Besa, a collection of principles which regulated the Albanian social, economic, and religious lives, together with traditional customs and cultural practices of the Albanian society between the year 1400 till today. Besa, for example, means taking care of those in need and being hospitable. During World War II, Albanians saved over 2,000 Jews from Nazi persecution. Rather than hiding the Jews in attics or the woods, Albanians gave them clothes, gave them Albanian names, and treated them as part of their family. The concept of Besa is incorporated into their culture. Albanian Canadians honor interreligious harmony and hold on to their language, which is without a doubt, Mr. Speaker, one of the oldest in the world. On the day I presented the first reading of this bill in the legislature, Mr. Speaker, last November 2015, we had the honor to hear in this very building an Arborish song, which is more than 500 years old and is sung by all Albanians everywhere. Moi I Bukura More was brilliantly performed here by soprano Mirella Tafai. I would be remiss if I failed to mention in my speech two of the most prominent Albanian national heroes held in great esteem by this community. The first, who I have previously mentioned in my speech, Mr. Speaker, is Georgi Kastrioti Skanderbeg, Albania's national hero who fought against the Ottoman Empire in the 15th century. The second is Mother Teresa, the Catholic humanitarian, well known all over the world for her missionary work, first in Ireland, then in India, where she lived most of her life. Mother Teresa, winner of the 1979 Nobel Peace Prize, is a model for all modern Albanians, and I would say beyond. And just last week, Pope Francis announced that she will be made a saint of the Roman Catholic Church at a ceremony which will be held in Rome next September 4th. Mr. Speaker, the contributions of the Albanian community are clearly felt not only in Ontario, but across the world. As a country, Canada has been built on the value of recognizing and respecting our rich cultural diversity, in celebrating the traditions and values of the people who have immigrated here, and the contributions that they are making today as Canadians. I therefore hope and ask all of my colleagues here in this legislature to help me recognize November as Albanian Heritage Month in the province of Ontario. I think, as I said at the beginning, that it would be fitting. It is the month that the community would like the best, as to be recognizing their heritage. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Fale menderit. Thank you.